Y'all see what I'm seeing?
Yep.
I don't know
All
what
right,
you're
so
seeing, but I'm seeing some stuff.
this is about what we've learned so far on Viva Topics. So we've been playing with it a little bit ourselves at Simpraxis and working with it a little bit ourselves at Simpraxis, and also on behalf of some clients. I've been working on a pilot for about the last 3 months that I got word this morning that we got funded and we're going to move forward, which I'm really excited about. So we'll talk a little bit about what we've learned so far. Let's touch on it. So you've obviously come to know our team. If you've been on these calls before, we each have different angles of approach to the topic, and that'll become apparent as we're talking and you're talking today. So we'll drill down a little bit into what we've learned so far. We'll talk through the process of working with Viva Topics. Didn't really put in like the definition slide of what is Viva Topics. Viva Topics is a component, an add-on to. Is that you, Mark? Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to do that too.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Just to show everybody this is live and not.
Yeah, just remind us who has the power here, actually. Viva Topics is an add-in to Microsoft 365 and to SharePoint that allows you to curate and publish topic pages. And then those topic pages can be popped up via cards. They can be surfaced via cards within today, SharePoint, coming soon, Yammer, and eventually Teams, Outlook, and other Microsoft Office applications. So if you have a common acronym, initialization, code name of something, Project Explorer. When people hover over Project Explorer in, say, a Teams chat, they'll get a little card pop, and we'll show you this. That says, here's a little bit more about Project Explorer. It's a project designed to do this. Here are the people who run it. Here's some useful information about it. So giving people in line, in context, knowledge and understanding, connecting people and topics is really the key. So we'll talk through the process of that, how topics get surfaced and curated and published, and the whole life cycle of them. We'll talk a little bit about search and topics, because we have things called search bookmarks that function in the same way that the topic pages do. And we have some other miscellaneous topics about topics or topics. The Department of Redundancy department helped put together the slide deck. So.
Do we capitalize both topics when we do this? When we're talking about topics in Microsoft Teams, do we capitalize all those words?
Well, I was. It was suggested to me by Sadie that if we're really excited about topics and we're kind of rooting for it, we would say Viva Topics. So we can make it worse, right? Okay.
Oh yes, we always can.
Right.
Challenge accepted.
Exactly. So at the outset, first thing you get with Viva Topics is a topic center. You'll see a personalized view of the content here of topics where you're listed because you've interacted with resources containing those topics or keywords. You'll see some of these, and you'll see throughout these slides we've redacted any client-specific information in here. So we'll see. You'll see the first things you'll see are topics on which that are suggested for you. You've contributed a bunch of stuff to this topic. Do you want to be listed, yes or no? And the system will learn over time that no, I'm not really associated with this topic, and it won't suggest it to you anymore.
Does in the case where you're working with a client, Mike, does everybody have access to the topic center, or do you restrict it to sort of knowledge managers or subject matter experts?
Right now, we're in a relatively small pilot, and everybody has access to it. And we've actually been kind of training people up and coaching them up on how to curate topics from the suggested topics. Eventually, I could see that being permissioned differently so that people could get the screen, they could get the topic cards in line with their work, but they'd never see the topic center if they're not a member of the curators group or the knowledge managers group.
Right.
So in our pilot, it's wide open, but when we roll it out more broadly and we start to define the role of knowledge manager or curator a bit more rigorously, I think we'll probably limit access to the topic center. Again, all of this is security trim though, right? So if I don't have access to the policy center, I'm never gonna see that.
Hey, Mike, there's a question. Yeah, there's a question from Krista. Is the topic center a standard SharePoint communication site?
It is. It has a lot of those attributes, but there are a couple things that are non-standard about it that we'll show you. So you can see in here like the edit dialog from in the Topic Center homepage. So you can edit the Topic Center homepage, home.aspx. You can add your own web parts. If you had like a little welcome video or anything like that, you can drop that in here. Also on the topic pages themselves, you can edit them like you would any other page. But inside of that manage topics dialog, and we'll show you this in a bit, there's some tabbed user interface elements and things that are not at all customizable. So they're non-standard.
Yeah,
so I'd say it's about 80%.
The web parts that land in those pages are very Viva topic specific. They're not configurable. They're not, transportable to another site.
Right. So this is the life cycle of a topic, right? It goes from suggested, which is the least human interaction of anything in here, right? The artificial intelligence engine in Viva Topics goes out, looks at the corpus of Microsoft 365 content, and will suggest topics that, hey, it looks like a lot of people are viewing this. Do you want to make it a topic? That's the first piece. It's very automated. The second stage is confirmation. Right, so I look at that list of suggested topics. I say, yep, that is a relevant one. The TPS reports. A lot of people have been asking what TPS reports are. We should probably create a topic for that so that people know that that means, topic, product, service, whatever the case is. So a human does this piece and confirms that, yes, it should be curated. The third piece is to edit and publish a topic page for the confirmed topic. That's usually done by a human. I think suggested is usually, the computer, right? The AI does that. Confirmed is usually a gatekeeper, one individual or maybe a small group of individuals who are knowledge managers who help dictate what should be confirmed. The editors and publishers, I think, should be very broad. And this will vary based on how mature your knowledge management function is internally. The intention for the organization where I'm working on this is that it be closer to Wikipedia, where almost anybody can edit and publish a topic page. And with a large enough sample size, the cream rises to the top. And there's footprints. You'll see what people did at in terms of version history. But the human piece and this piece, I think the work is very distributed across people with subject matter expertise around a particular topic or term.
And I think Microsoft has said publicly, this capability is really of best use for large organizations because there needs to be enough content churn for that AI to actually spot things like topics. It's gotten a lot better in our tenant than it was when we first turned it on, when it first went GA. But I think especially in larger groups, you tend to delineate these responsibilities separately as opposed to having one person manage the whole thing.
Yeah, and you'll see in a lot of the screenshots here, it's what Viva Topics looks like inside of a 6-person organization. The pilot that we're working on ultimately is about a 60,000 person organization. So you get a little bit more meaningful of a sample size, and trending is subject to the small sample size skewing that you could get there. So what you see at the bottom of the screen under the Manage Topics tab in the site nav on Topic Center is this little sub-tab interface that takes you through this life cycle. And we'll show you the kind of the pieces under here. There's a graph, the ability to search down. So in the large organization, we're doing the pilot. There's about 40,000 suggested topics. And they're ranked in here. We'll talk about that in a moment. They're ranked. You can filter and sort those out so that you get exactly the ones that you want. So this is what will get suggested to you. Again, for that same reason, I've contributed content. I've interacted with people who've contributed content, etc. So it's monitoring those. And Mark, I think this is a black box to me. It may be to everybody. Is like how the graph signals are used to indicate. Like I don't know that any of us knows the algorithm for what constitutes I've contributed resources or I've interacted with this topic a lot. I think it's a black box. Do you know any differently?
Yeah, I don't know of any specific measures that go into it. I mean, when I look at what you see versus what I see, it sort of makes sense to me. but there also are some things that it's suggesting for each of us where we're sort of like, huh,
Right.
there must be something in there that makes sense, but it's not always apparent.
Yep. And so that's the machine part. The human part is the part where I interact with it. It suggests to me and it says, do you want to be listed on this topic? I can say yes or no, remove me, and then I won't see it anymore. I don't know that I always see it removed immediately after I click no, remove me. I think I've seen in the pilot a couple of instances where I had to say that a couple times before it got the message. Right.
Hey, Mike.
I'm doing it right now in our tenant, and it seems to be happening right away. But
hey, Mike, we did have a question about how the topics get provisioned. So the question is, so somehow where you enable topics and then you provision the topic center?
Yeah, topics is a SKU, right? Viva Topics is a SKU from Microsoft, a separate SKU of Office 3 or Microsoft 365. The list price right now is $5 per user per month, but they announced that Inspire last week, a couple weeks ago, that it'll go down next year to $4 per user per month at list price. I think once you buy that SKU and you enable the users for that Viva Topics license, they should see the topic center. I believe the topic center gets kind of instantiated once you've lit up the licensing for the first time. I didn't know that there was any separate process for that. Did you do it, Mark?
I had to create it.
You had to create it. Okay.
There's a link to an article in the resources slide at the end where this with with the steps that you go through in order to create that topic center. It's not that complex. It didn't work well when I did it the first week that topics was available, but it's gotten a lot more streamlined now.
So from that manage topics dialog, here's what suggested topics look like. I can see over time how many have been harvested, and then the suggested topics are ranked based on a quality score that you see in this left-hand column. I can also resort based on any of these column headers. So when it was discovered or how many impressions, etc. And I have the ability to filter it as well. So if I just want to use, I'm looking for SharePoint. I'm pretty sure SharePoint is a suggested topic at Simpraxis. Start typing share, and this is what I see. And you'll see for each of these a hover in line over a completeness score based on what the average person would see. And impressions is what people with Viva Topics have actually seen.
And I think you may have already said this, but in case you haven't, you can license some of the people in your organization for topics, not everybody. So for instance, it's Simpraxis, out of the 6 of us, we have 3 licenses. So some of us can take advantage of this and some of us don't. And it's the full experience that you either see or you don't.
Yeah, in the same way that you might, if you have a lot of shop floor personnel and you might give them an E1 or what used to be a K1 license, they might not be good candidates for that. You're basically people talking about you license your knowledge workers, right? Your people who spend their day in front of these screens and in Microsoft 365. So the next step is to confirm a topic. So I would go into, I would pick a topic from suggested, confirm it, it would move it to the second stage. From this screen, you can see, again, the history of all the topics that have been confirmed. I can go in and review and publish the topic from here, which will pull up a new topics page that is pre-populated with what the AI found, and then I can curate it from there. Or I can remove it and say, yeah, that's a bad recommendation, and it'll get removed from here and not be suggested anymore. Third step is to publish it, right? So I picked up topics from the published state. I can review and edit them, republish, iterate through them, or get them out of here as well. And removed is the end game, right? Topics that have been removed, I can reconfirm and bring them back from a removed state. It's almost like a little recycle bin for topics. So this is what the topic page looks like. Right, I see a couple of, I see some header information, the title. The alternate names are important, and we'll talk about those in the context of search as well. A little blurb describing that. I think this section is crucial because it's the first thing that people see in the card. when that card pops up in context of a conversation or something else.
And I added that manually. That doesn't magically appear.
Yep. Do I still have, Mark, the numerous? Yeah, I do have the numerous pieces of the topic page on here. So I just wanted to show the first look at what the topic page looks like. The topic page, this is what this looks like in the wild, and we'll demo this. When you hover over a topic that's identified as one of the published topics, and you're a Viva Topics licensed user, this is what you'll see. You'll see this this card pop up when I hover over. There.
The little thing at the bottom of that card is important. I just was playing around with that this morning. So you see where it says, should this highlight be here? That's a way for us to give feedback to this engine that says, this is a good spot for it. No, this is not a good spot for it. And after I said yes to that question, then it asked me, should this resource, should that resource be there? So it's a learning card, if you will, because people can answer those questions and be augmenting what that card is actually showing over time.
And Mark, so I think too, there's a knowledge management thing there too, where like I might need that once, right? And then have the never show me this again kind of option, right? Is that what the should this highlight be here does?
That's just you sort of voting, yep, this is a good spot to show it.
Okay.
And then the next question it asked me was actually, see that document, the second resource, it actually asked me, should that resource actually be listed there? So it's asking pointed questions about what it's showing in the card of the people who are consuming the content, so that it gets, I would assume that something happens with that, because the engine behind it is going to then say, oh, well, if you don't think that that's a good document, I'll remove it from the list.
Mark, might also be a good place to talk about ontology a little bit, because we might have two topics in here. One topic for Microsoft 365 and one for Microsoft 365 maturity model.
In fact, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
before we get too far from this page, we do have a question about topic pages.
Sure.
Is the topic page layout able to be changed? Like use new sections, add different web parts, or is this just canned?
Yeah, the topic pages are one part that's editable. I've definitely added web parts to the page. I can't remember if we've added sections or changed the section structure or layout, but I think it works like a typical.
But not this card, right? This card is
the card is static. It's the topic pages themselves.
Right. When you click the title there, the sort of gold colored Microsoft 365, if you click that, then you land on the page back in the topic center, and that page you can do some editing on.
Yep. So Mark, let's put a pin in ontology and show that right now, right? So topic page, part 1, and you can see the edit dialog at the top of the page that has the normal, publish, republish, edit, discard changes, see the page details, etc. And these are the components, right? Title, synonyms, short description, pinned people. If you scroll a little bit farther down, there's pinned people who have been expressly pinned, and then there's suggested people that the engine is going to say, hey, it looks like these people also did this. Do you want to pin them? You can do it with one click here. There's pinned files, pinned pages, and suggested files and pages as well. So I think this is a fairly recent thing. Like the distinction between pinned and suggested is pretty recent. I think there was like one called related, and it was difficult to ascertain whether a human had said that or the engine had said that. And Microsoft broke those out fairly recently in the pinned and suggested.
And so when I'm editing that page and under suggested files and pages, I can hover over any one of those documents and a little pin shows up, so I can decide what's pinned as a knowledge manager. That's sort of the role I'm playing right now.
Yep.
So it's sort of like promoting those documents that are popped out through the graph.
Yep. The last piece is sites, so both pinned and suggested, and then the bottom piece is related topics, which just gives us a little visual graph of topics that are tied to this that we can add to. This is pretty rudimentary, this graphing engine right now. I think there's other options that are better, that are headed our way, but it's basic. If you wanted to tie, intranet to Microsoft 365, to our company portal, and tie those all together as topics. You could do it that way if they were separate topics.
Yeah, so in this case, the topic is Microsoft 365 maturity model. I connected it to Microsoft 365. It's not in this screenshot. All it does is add it with a little line between the two topics on that on this colored background.
Yeah, I have that demo queued up. I can show that too, Mark.
Then the intent there is that the underlying engine will actually start to make those relationships or suggest those relationships to you. So you could imagine this becoming a big web of nodes in a graph.
Yep, but the graphing itself is pretty basic, and I think Microsoft has designs on making it a lot more useful and rich. But right now it's real basic.
You can twirl it around while you're editing, though. It's sort of fun.
Okay, let's do that. Should I put a pin in these topics and then go out, pull up demo, toggle the demo, and then use that to talk through some of this stuff? Is there anything, Mark, that we want to capture here and make sure people are aware of? We've got a slide on search. We talked about licensing. We talked about the non-standard navigation elements like those tabs and certain things that are not editable in the topic center.
Sorry, go ahead.
The other two issues I'd want to underscore are right now there's a little bit of publishing lag. When you go into confirm topics and you go to edit it and publish it, it has historically taken a little while to show up in published. So you end up with like this interstitial state that's caused problems in like a high velocity. I'm trying to do 10 of them. I expect to see them right away. So there's some lag associated with publishing that I think is slated to be fixed this quarter. I think Microsoft has put it on their public roadmap for some of the enhancement there.
I've noticed that when I was making changes to the topics as we were putting together the slides, that the effect of those changes was showing up very quickly. And in the beginning, when we first started playing around with this, it's like, hey, Mike, it's been a week. Have we seen anything change yet?
It was absolutely killing us early in the pilot. I think it's improved a lot. Yep. The last piece was curation, and I think we talked a little bit about it, kind of the Wikipedia model versus the kind of intensive knowledge manager curator model, and making sure if you're thinking about Viva topics that you're thinking about how you staff that. No one has this necessarily, or few people, in their job description. So either making sure people are aware of this, they get some rudimentary training in how to curate topics, or something that I'm working on doing in conjunction with the pilot that we're working on, actually getting a temporary, knowledge management analyst in place to curate the first N number of topics and seed the system. Find the people with subject matter expertise who can be curators, build the initial version of that topic page, and then hand it off to them when it's 90% done with a little, hey, to go here and change this, go do step 1, step 2, step 3. I think that's an important piece. So there's a licensing cost for sure, but the curation piece can't be overlooked because there's frankly not that many people who have an enterprise-wide knowledge management role in most organizations. Mark, you want to touch on search before we demo?
Yeah, search is pretty slick. So when you create these topics, they become and you search for that topic, it becomes a bookmarked topic in a bookmarked search result. So the cool thing here is those alternate terms that you can give to so here you have Microsoft 365 maturity model as the actual topic. I added that alternate name, MM4 M365. When I search for that, the topic comes up as the first search result. So it's another way to promote things in your search results that sort of flows from your content creation process. It's a separate thing, though, than going into search bookmarks and adding things manually. The thing that sort of surprises me is that this isn't. I would expect that this sort of would start to show up in the term store somewhere, but it hasn't yet. These concepts would make sense to me to become key terms or something in the term store, and that doesn't seem to be the case at this point.
Sorry, I was just toggling to the. Nope.
Checking your social media feeds just to see what's going on. Mark
Nope.
starts talking.
Just
toggling to the demo. It's all good. So some of what's fresh and new on Viva Topics, it's all fairly new. The thing with the exclamation point is what we talked about, that accelerated publishing for new topic creation. We're already starting to see some of the benefits of that. A few things that have been recently delivered. We talked about the distinction between suggested and pinned to tell us what's been curated versus what's recommended by the AI. There's been some accessibility improvements for folks, and there is an early adopter program. If you're thinking about piloting this, there is a form that I should be linked in our resources that you can go to and apply for that early adopter program, and Microsoft has resources. I don't know about funding, but I think the key benefit from that early adopter program is visibility and interaction with the product team building and enhancing Viva Topics. I think that's the primary. If you're willing to put in the time, they're willing to listen to you at the right scale. So other things that are coming soon, I won't read the slides to you. Still waiting to see and hear more from them about translation, which I know is important for a large global org I'm working with on this, and also APIs, which I think the folks at Simpraxis, the ones who aren't talking on this week's call, are the ones who are going to be most interested when there are actual APIs to start to do interesting things with topics and integrating them in other places. Let's toggle over. Go to what's live here. Yep.
Make them count.
So this is the live instance of a topics page. I won't go to the manage topics because it'll surface a lot of client-specific information here. Although I think we have in the topic center, I have the summary of all of our published topics, and published topics you can manage. I may not have access to all. There's info to learn more. I can sort and filter on each of these, and I get nice little info pops on things like impressions to see what an impression exactly means for these. So Mark, there was a page that you had given me that I do not have up here, is it? Going to our intranet.
Oh, I know. It's in the sorry, I'll give you the URL.
Yeah, throw it in the chat. That'd be awesome. Sorry about that.
Yeah, just keep talking. You're not talking.
I know. I'm just looking at Krista's question because I have topics page for Microsoft Maturity Model. I'm editing that page, and I'm going to go in and see if I have the ability to add sections the way I thought I did. I know I can add web parts. It looks like I can. Yeah, I could add a section to this page. Tailor that.
Yeah, I think each of those out of the box sections are special web parts that just do the topic-y stuff, but I think you can augment by adding your own sections and things. I'd put the link in chat. If you go to that site and then click the top link on the right side, resources. Yeah. Out of all of that nonsense, you'll notice that it noticed.
This is where that pop occurs.
Right. So you see the question at the bottom there. Should whatever people communities be listed? That's not the question it asked me. So it's asking you. It asks different people different questions based on what the traffic has been. So if you click on that should thing.
Say yes.
Yep. So it's it's a learning experience, and if you close that and then come back and hover over it again, it may ask you another question. You don't have to.
Let me reload. Let's reload the page.
Okay, so it doesn't have any more questions for you.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Not at this time.
Right. So we're a little over on time. I hope this was a useful overview. Thanks everybody for the questions that we took in line. If you have further questions, feel free to keep them in the chat. We can stay on for a few minutes. I'm going to just go back to the deck. There is a resource slide with a bunch of resources that we've curated for you here. So the overview, Chris's most recent update, the roadmap for what's coming, and a couple of Microsoft Docs links for planning and setup. We'll reconvene in 2 weeks for an open-ended Ask Simpraxis Anything topic. We're still going to work down and burn down some topics from the last time. We did an ASA, and we hope to see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.